Revenge films.
My name is Tabitha. I live together with my husband, Kevin, as well as our son, Michael, who is currently in the first grade. Just this year in September, we moved to this town because of my husband's work. Summer break had just finished, and now that Michael was getting used to his new school, it seems that he was starting to make a group of friends. And that was the same for the moms of the elementary school, as all of their children began their first year of school. I was worried at first that he was transferring schools at an awkward time within the school year, but my young son seems like he was able to open up and fit in with his classmates pretty quickly. However, it wasn't the same for me. On my end, I was having a pretty hard time merging with the other moms in the elementary school and making friends. But right around that time, the first person who came over to speak to me was one of the fellow moms, Jennifer. Jennifer was widely known as the leader of the biggest group of moms in the elementary school. Thanks to Jennifer inviting me into her group, I was able to join them. I started going out to lunch with some of the other moms, and we also started to meet up at the park with our children so that they could play together while we chatted. A few days later, some of the other moms in the group started saying that they were being bothered by prank calls from an unknown number. Because I had just joined the group, and it was immediately after I had exchanged phone numbers with everybody, Jennifer said to me, "Aren't you the one that's behind all of this, Tabitha?" It wasn't just Jennifer, but I started to feel that everybody around me was looking at me with suspicious eyes. But of course, I denied all of it. "I'm also being troubled by these unknown phone calls. It's not me, I swear." Even though I insisted, nobody would believe me. Apparently, they thought that I was doing this myself and then putting on an act in front of them. But when I would get home, I also continued to receive unknown phone calls. It wasn't like it was happening extremely frequently, but it was still enough to be a bother. Because my son had just started at a new school, I would receive phone calls from all different kinds of numbers. Sometimes I wouldn't get notifications for them, but it's not like I could ignore the phone calls. Most unexpected phone calls would come from unexpected numbers anyway. However, just one time, I received a prank call from an unknown number, and the number showed up. I should probably save this number as one of the scam phone numbers. 1 week later, I was told by the group of moms to meet them at the café. A number of the members had gathered, and it was obvious when I arrived that they were all waiting for me and planning on confronting me. "Do you know why you were called out to meet us, Miss Tabitha? It's about all of those troublesome phone calls you've been making." Jennifer's voice was cold and unkind. "I've tried to explain this many times, but I really am not the person that's behind this." For over 2 hours after that, we argued back and forth. We took some breaks in between for people to use the restroom, and we continued to speak as a group, but we weren't able to reach a conclusion. And then, eventually, when we were going to call it a day, one of the fellow moms started panicking that her phone was missing. And so Jennifer, who was the acting leader of the group, made a suggestion. "Maybe you dropped it somewhere. Don't worry, I'll call it for you, and we can see where it is." After the phone was lost and Jennifer rang that lost phone, the noise started coming out of my bag. What? What do I do? It's inside of my purse, but why? How? The moment that the ringtone started coming out of my purse, everybody's glares were pointed directly at me. And then the leader of the moms yelled out, "You thief! I can't believe it! What, you were angry that we all discovered that you were behind the prank calls, and that's why you stole her phone? I'm sure you're the one that's behind all of those prank calls anyway, right? Just admit it already." No, that's not it, I swear. When I left the table to go use the restroom, somebody must have put the phone in there. Please, you have to believe me." Everybody was glaring at me in a terrifying way. "Unlike the prank calls, this is breaking the law. I think it might be best if we hand you over to the police then. And look, we have all of these witnesses here too." "But please, wait a minute, it's not what it looks like." I panicked and I pulled out the other mom's cell phone from my bag. At that moment, I saw the phone number that was on the screen. Wait a minute, this phone number, this was one of the prank calls. And then I immediately pulled out my cell phone and I confirmed the phone number that I had saved as the prank call. I knew it. This phone number. This was one of the prank calls that I got. That means that it was you, Jennifer. You're the one that's behind all of the prank calls. "What?" The leader of the pack went silent, and I brought out the two phones and lined them up side by side. Everybody came over to look at the two screens. On my phone was a contact number saved as a prank call, and then the other phone had a missed call from just a few moments ago. The phone number that was displayed was the exact same. "That must mean that you're the one behind the prank calls. Isn't that right?" "What? No, it's not." She was panicking, but when I looked at her phone, I realized Wait a minute. That's not the phone you're always carrying, is it? So I guess you have 2 cell phones that you carry with you. Is that the one you keep to make the bothersome phone calls and harass people? I see this is how you use your wealth. Looks like you weren't thinking and you used your phone that you use for prank calls just now. That was a mistake, wasn't it? Like I said, this is all a misunderstanding. Why don't you just admit it already, that you're the one behind all of the prank calls? Or are you able to explain to us why you have 2 cell phones and why one of those cell phones has the exact same phone number as one of the prank calls that I received? To my surprise, Jennifer started apologizing to me. Okay, look, it is true that I accidentally made a couple of phone calls without saying anything as a mistake. But it seems like everybody was pretty panicked about it. It was pretty funny to me, but I immediately knew that I was doing something wrong, so I stopped doing it. What kind of excuse is that? What? What's the big deal? A prank call comes from an unknown number, so in that case, you wouldn't know who was behind it. And on top of that, you must have been the one that placed somebody's phone inside of my purse. You don't have any proof of that, though. It was true that I wasn't able to prove with undisputable evidence that it was her doing. In the end, she was able to get past the situation about the prank calls, saying that she just rang the wrong number a couple times and that she got away with it. And she continued to hold her seat as a leader of the moms. But then totally after that, she started saying, "Because of Tabitha, things have become awkward between the group of moms." And I started to hear these rumors being passed around. I could imagine that she started these rumors because she was angry with me, and then, amongst those rumors... But you know what? I think that we should make up and have a good time, so let's have a lunch party with the group of moms at my place. You can bring the kids, of course. She invited me to this supposed lunch party, but I had nothing but a bad feeling about it. However, if I were to say no to her invitation, I could already picture that it was going to be even more of a pain. It was hard for me to continue this relationship with her and the other moms at the school. Even if we were only going to have to be with one another for elementary school, there were still 5 years left. When I spoke to my son about the lunch party, he was excited that he was going to be able to see his friends on the weekend as well. I was a little bit encouraged by that. On the day of the lunch party, when I arrived at her house, it was a beautiful mansion. There was a fancy lunch that was laid out, almost as if she was bragging. I felt like it must have cost more than what each person paid to participate. Everything was delicious, and the conversations were fun. The kids looked like they were having a lot of fun playing together as well. In the evening, everything seemed to go well. When the party was over, my son was also able to play with his friends a lot, and he seemed very satisfied. However, the day after the lunch party, in the morning, it was around the time after my husband had gone to work. Led by the leader of the group of moms, the number of the moms that were at the party had arrived at my house. "Good morning, Miss Tabitha. I'm sorry to bother you this early in the morning, but there was something that I wanted to ask you. Actually, all of us wanted to ask you." I had a bad feeling already. "What's the matter, Miss Jennifer? What can I help you with?" "Actually, yesterday, a ring that was a precious heirloom from my mother disappeared. I was planning on gifting it to my daughter eventually, and yesterday, for the party, I made an exception and I let her hold on to it, because she said that she wanted to show it off to her friends at the party." "I see. And? Wait a minute. Don't tell me that you're trying to say that I stole it or something like that." "On that day, from the afternoon until the evening, we were together. But in between, for example, going to the restroom, everybody was able to move around freely, so there were more than enough opportunities to steal that ring." "But wouldn't that be the same for everybody?" "Yes, that's true. But you see, according to my daughter, she said that she was playing with your son, and it was after that that the ring disappeared from her possession." "What? Did you say my son?" This was an unexpected turn of events. Perhaps she thought she caught my weak point because Jennifer started snickering. "Well, so I thought that perhaps while your child was playing with my child at my house, maybe he made a little mistake and took it home with him. Couldn't that be a possibility?" I panicked, and since my son was still home and hadn't gone to school yet, I went to ask him. But then without any hesitation, he pulled out the ring from his pocket. And it turns out that it was because Jennifer's daughter had said to him, "My family is rich, so I can give you one little ring. It's nothing to me," and put it in his pocket. I grabbed the ring and I went back to the front door. When I showed the ring to Jennifer, "You thief! I knew it. So it was you after all. And I'm sure that the person behind all of those prank calls was actually you all along too." No, that's not true. I then explained the situation exactly as I had heard from my son. I said this earlier too, but this is a ring that was passed down to me from my mother. So to my daughter, this is her grandmother's heirloom. And you seriously think that my daughter would give that to a little boy that just moved here into this town? It was true that there was some logic to that, and it seemed that most of the group of moms also believed that. Not only did he steal, but on top of that, he's lying. This must be because of your poor education and being a bad mother. I'm going to believe in my son. Well, it looks like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. The two of you criminals can continue to cover up for each other. She threw those words at me and then stormed out of the house. This time, I need to make sure I take care of this. Otherwise, it might end up with the children getting hurt too. I decided to muster up the courage, and I went to the little girl herself and asked her what happened. In the beginning, she stayed quiet, but eventually she confessed to me that her mom had ordered her to do that and to say that to my son specifically. The child was a lot more honest than the adults, and she understood right from wrong and was able to make the right decision. On top of that, she even confessed to me that her mom would sit at home and make a lot of prank calls throughout the day. The next day, I decided to confront the leader of the moms in front of the other moms. I spoke to your daughter, and she told me everything honestly. Aren't you embarrassed to be saying and doing things more immature than a first grader? I'm sorry. In the beginning, it was just supposed to be a little prank, but everybody was panicking so much, it became so funny. It was just a little bit of fun in my boredom. That's all it was. Jennifer finally confessed, and she apologized as well. Not long after that, her husband divorced her. Because she was harassing others and even roped her daughter into it, her husband was tired of her and divorced her. She was kicked out of the beautiful mansion and stuck having to live alone. She seems busy with her part-time job and paying her bills, so I'm sure she's not going to have much boredom anymore.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.